I'm really starting to get tired of this Real Madrid team making constant mistakes on the transfer market. Once again, Real Madrid is not gonna sign any player in the January transfer window. And the news once again have come out that Real Madrid has rejected all of these three players. Ibrahima Konate, of course. That's not the biggest target in my opinion. He has not been that great this season. But we always talk about how we need a deep lying playmaker or someone that can just play a bit deeper in the midfield, that is good with the ball, also with the passing, but can, come up with goals as well. That's Ruben Neves for you right there, and he comes with experience. And of course, Dayo Upamecano has allegedly, of course, this is allegedly, but I believe these rumors. Dayo Upamecano has also been rejected. All players were offered to join the club as free agents in the summer. Now, we are going to talk about, of course, how would the contracts looks like and how much money would they actually have for their wages and this and that. But let me just say this. Florentino Perez, you have to change something with this team. And the transfer strategy of this team makes no sense. The reports have just come out that Ruben Neves himself actually offered himself to Real Madrid. And we still reject it. You know what this means? His wage would have been much, much lower than we would have expected. Of course, he's coming from the Saudi league, so we are expecting a high wage. But that's to be expected, especially if he is a free agent. This always happens when a player leaves to Saudi and then he wants to come back to Europe, of course. The wages are like astronomical. But he offered himself to Real Madrid. He knew he had a role in this team and that he would be a perfect fit. He himself knew that. So why can't Real Madrid see that? And of course, we can talk about his age. He's going to be 29, or he is now 29 and he's going to be 30. But I think this guy, especially nowadays, midfielders last a way longer time on the pitch than you actually expect. Look at Luka Modric. I know he's a one-of-one midfielder, but similar to guys in the Premier League, you are seeing much older midfielders do great things. Because football is becoming more and more tactical. And I think Ruben Neves, from a tactical standpoint, and from the player role that we need at Real Madrid in the midfield right now, is a perfect fit. And I would be willing to spend much more money on his wage to accompany this Real Madrid team with his experience, his qualities. Just look at his time at Wolves, and look at his time while he is still playing at Al Hilal. Even against Real Madrid, he was one of the best players on the pitch in the Club World Cup. And for Portugal, he is one of their starting midfielders. He is in around the starting 11, which I think speaks volumes. And of course, there is other talks about the younger midfielders once again. And that's why it doesn't make sense. Because, of course, as we can see here, Keith Smith, a really big talent. That's more of a newcomer. And of course, Adam Wharton, that is a bit more established at Crystal Palace now. We are more interested in these two guys. Now, I don't have a problem with Keith Smith because he would be around 40 to 50 million, somewhere around there. And he would, I think, maybe be going on loan, or he would be on the bench. I have no problem with that. That's not that much money in this day and age. 50 million is basically pennies on the market for a newcomer. But Adam Wharton would be around 80 to 90 million. And you're telling me I should spend 90 million for Adam Wharton when he's not going to be starting every single game for this club? I genuinely think there's no point in doing that when we need experience. What is wrong with the locker room right now? Answer that question for me down below as well. I think it's the mentality and not enough experience in the locker room. The players that are older are Rudiger, Alaba, Courtois, and Carvajal. They are the older players, you could say. Then we have like the likes of Ceballos, but they are not that old, bro. And let's be honest, they are not the world beaters like the other guys. They had their peaks were at such a high level. But Alaba and Rudiger are basically finished, washed, and cannot play games. Carvajal is the same. He is not even in the locker room most times in these games. And Thibaut Courtois is a keeper that is the only one experienced and is constantly improving. Now, is that a coincidence? Is that a coincidence that an experienced player at this club is the only one performing every single game. You cannot say anything about Thibaut Courtois, maybe except one mistake in all of the games that have happened this season. And that's the mistake against Manchester City, where he parried the ball out. But once again, the defense didn't do great as well. But I just think we need experienced players at this club. Start bringing in older players, even if it means they're only going to be here for around 3 years. I think this is the change that Real Madrid needs. Now, as I said, Adam Wharton, for me, he's just not... He is a perfect fit how he plays, okay? He would be a perfect fit, but the money is too much. 90 million for him. I just don't think it's worth it to spend that much money when you have way older players that could be coming as a free agent, which is Ruben Neves. And now for Keith Smith, of course, very interested in Real Madrid as well, but there is clubs that are interested in him as well. As you can see, multiple other top clubs. I think Bayern is there, Barcelona is there, Juve is there, and of course, Liverpool is there as well, with the links of, Gravenberg and this and that, Arne Slot. I think Real Madrid is just once again doing too much on the talent market. Perez, please, you have a fetish for younger players. I just don't know. Why are we only signing young players? Look, Franco, Mastantuono, Alvaro Carreras, Endrick before that, Huijsen. I just don't get it, why can't we sign an experienced player? And I'm not talking about Kylian Mbappe, because at the point where we signed him, I think Kylian Mbappe was 25. Of course, that is different. He was on a free. That was way before that should have been done. Of course, we talked about that many, many times. But I just don't see us anymore signing big enough players that have the experience needed for this team. And this has just come out of Real Madrid's locker room, or the club, of course. Real Madrid believe that the agents of players whose contracts will expire in the summer are using the club and taking advantage of their free agent strategy to market their players. Now, this doesn't really make sense, because every single month there is a new rumor or something gets leaked from the club. We have seen Marc Guéhi rumors, Upamecano, before that Alphonso Davies, which I think fucked up the transfer for us with Alphonso Davies. But of course, there is another rumor now, rejected 3 players, Konate, Neves, and Upamecano. I don't really get it. And this is why the motto at the club is absolute silence. But we all know this is not true. We all know something will always come out of Real Madrid. And usually, as like 50% of it is actually true. Especially the last year, everybody knew that Dean Huijsen was actually coming to Real Madrid. Let's be honest, guys. Franco Mastantuono, that was done way, way before. And Alvaro Carreras, the links were there like 6 months ago. We cannot hide these transfers and say the club has a motto of absolute silence, which is just not true. It's not true, especially with the Adam Wharton news, Keith Smith, once again. What is this absolute silence shit? And it doesn't make any sense. Why did we reject Upamecano? Why? Guys, another option on the market is Marc Guéhi. And I'm okay with that. But if I was Real Madrid, I'm looking at Rudiger, always injured. Alaba, never playing games, always injured. Militao, always injured. Dean Huijsen, not experienced enough. Asensio, of course, has the Bozo gene. He has been okay this season, I guess, and the Club World Cup doesn't help him at all. We have Jacobo Ramon, who is doing bits at Como, but he's not a Real Madrid player as we are speaking right now. Why are we not looking at Upamecano as one of the best options for this club? And if this is true, that we are actually rejecting these players, I don't get it. Maybe with Konate I get it, because, his form has plummeted this season. But Upamecano has been, I think this is his best season as a senior player at Bayern Munich. He has been one of the best center backs in the world, but we apparently rejected him. Why? Is his wage that high? Is Marc Guéhi not going to be on the same level? I don't know. Upamecano has been looking great, so why are we rejecting him? I hope we don't sign another player that is young or, talented before we sign an actual experienced center back. Because I don't want to be seeing under 21s, under 19, under 18, or under 15. Stop! Please, bro! Sign an experienced player! Real Madrid used the free agent market to create favorable deals for themselves. How is it not a favorable deal to sign Upamecano? With Ruben Neves, I get it. So much money would go on that contract. Okay? That's what I get. The money in there I get. I still think he would be a favorable deal because he would give us so much experience and quality. But that's, that's fair. The money would be crazy. That does not mean that they are interested in signing any free agent. I think that signing Upamecano as a free agent, I think that's a fair enough assumption from the fans and the news, that we should be making that signing. And the same goes for Ruben Neves or Marguehi, of course. And nor does it mean that they are only interested in signing free agents. This is basically like, yeah, good one, bro. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows this because literally we have signed Franco, Carreras, Huijsen, all for money. So what is this like talk about that they are not interested in only signing free agents? We know this. We've been knowing this. We always sign a player for money. It always happens. But bro, Perez, if these players are on the market for free, give me them for free. You want to pay for them? Give Bayern 5 million for Upamecano then. Or what do you want from us? We just want experienced players. That might be my only opinion, my sole opinion at this club. But my brother, it looks like you are destroying this club with your talent fetish and your marketing strategy that brings, the players from Argentina, this Premier League, the academy players. My bro, we have academy players at this club. These are your young talents. Bring them up and buy experienced players. I'm tired of buying only young players. I'm tired of Endrick, Mastantuono, Carreras, Huijsen. I'm tired. I am tired. And when somebody comes through the academy, they are usually out of the team, at the bench, or they are sold, or they are sent on loan. Nico Paz, Jacobo Ramon, for example. Gemma at Stuttgart as well. So what is this strategy and that we are only interested in free agents? Of course we are not. My brother, you literally bought 3 players this season and brought in Trent as a free agent. So of course we know that. What is this like? See what I mean about these leaks? They don't make sense to me. And if this is true, of course, once again, if this is true, Madrid makes 0 sense. Why are we then looking at Adam Wharton and Keith Smith over Ruben Neves when we want favorable deals? Keith Smith would cost around 50 million or above 50 million. How is that a favorable deal in the market? And how is a 90 to 100 million Adam Wharton a favorable decision over someone like Ruben Neves when we actually need experience? Are we just looking at the potential of these guys? And once again, it comes back to the point, how is this Madrid team going to work? How is this Madrid team going to work with these transfers? Because there is another point to talk about. Academy players that are on roll. Especially, as I mentioned before, Nico Paz, Jacobo Ramon, and Gemma. How are they going to fit into this team? Because Gemma at Stuttgart has been doing bits. Nico Paz is basically the best player in Serie A this season. Maybe after Luka Modric or some of these players. And Jacobo Ramon has been doing bits. He's a center back. Once again, we are looking to sign a center back, but we rejected Upamecano. I think Upamecano is more a favorable deal than waiting if we can get Marguehi, who has so many more interested clubs from the Premier League. And if we get Jacobo Ramon, of course, I'm gonna be happy. But is that enough experience? Once again, I'm getting back to the point. Where is the experience in this locker room? Where is the mentality of the older players that have been there and done that? Come on, Upamecano has been playing at the top level for at least 5 years. And this just brings me to my next point. Nico Paz, how is he going to fit into this team? Because he has to come back to Madrid. How? Are we going to sign Keith Smith, Adam Wharton, and bring back Nico Paz? And bring up Pitar from the academy? Is Gemma going to stay at Stuttgart or come back? I just don't get what is the strategy with the academy and the transfers right now. Please, somebody tell me in the comments. Please, somebody tell me in the comments. Because I just don't get this. If it was up to me, I would have signed Ruben Neves at the end of the season as a free agent and Dayo Upamecano. Dayo Upamecano or Marguehi. But once again, the club is now coming out with the club motto, absolute silence. Watch us sign Marguehi or Dayo Upamecano at the end of the season. And this guy is still going to call this club absolute silence. It's just waffle. It's just straight up waffle. That's why I don't understand the strategy at all. And guys, you can let me know if I'm wrong at this. Do you think Florentino Perez is actually doing it right? That we can maybe get a more favorable deal on these players if we don't seem interested. But I just don't think it's the case. I actually think Florentino Perez is only thinking about the media and the money perspective of the club, not actually the team perspective and the tactical perspective of this team, what we actually need, the roles of the players. Because once again, I would have loved Ruben Neves, and I would have loved Keith Smith or Adam Wharton this season. But the next season, from what I have seen right now in the midfield, there is no experience, and we need a deep lying playmaker, somebody who can play deeper, to allow Camavinga to actually rest, to allow Chouamani to maybe be the sitter and the destroyer, or I don't know, maybe Jude Bellingham as an 8. But once again, what if Nico Paz comes back to the club? How are we gonna fit him in? You know what? This is gonna be the end of the video, but how are we gonna fit everybody in? I'm so interested what Madrid is gonna do in the summer, because in January, of course, we know it's not gonna happen. Nobody's going to be signing for Real Madrid in January. That's just a given, bro. That's one of the things that pisses me off as well about Perez, man. But one last thing, guys. Marcelo. Players who surprised me the most in training, Isco and Modric. These two did stuff with the ball that made me say it's impossible. Isco, I gotta get it in, bro. Isco Glaze, I'm there. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and let me know your opinion on this matter. Do you think we are making mistakes at this transfer market, or do you think Florentino Perez has something up his sleeve and maybe, he's cooking something? Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.